Okay, guys. Okay. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. We're live. It is Old Man G here, back again, and with another episode of Red Devil Studio Live. This is an open podcast and discussion. Link has been posted on Twitter. So if you want to get involved, you want to come on the show, by all means, come and get involved. I'll post a link in the comments box as well. So if you want to get involved, here's the link, and you can come on the show. We can have a conversation. But in simple terms, basically, I've got a couple of topics that we're going to be talking about today on this Red Devil Studio Live podcast. The first one is about the breaking news about the Premier League return date. Well, not so much a Premier League return date, but just when the season will the season might resume. We're going to also be talking about the Bundesliga. Going to talk about the Newcastle Takeover. We're also going to talk about who's going to win the CL as well. But yeah, like I said, it's an open podcast route. So if you want to get involved, there's the link should be in the comment section. Link is also on a Twitter, We United X as well, and I'll share link as well. So without further ado, let's basically just get into this news. So as you can see, obviously BBC's covered. It's been announced. This sort of breaking news last few hours or so actually is that. According to Boris Johnson's UK government, for those who don't know, there's no professional sport in England until the 1st of June at the earliest. Okay, so no professional sport, even behind closed doors, will be staged in England until June the 1st at the earliest, the UK government has announced. And the government has published a 50-page guidance document detailing how England will begin to ease lockdown pressures. Step 2 of that plan, which will not be allowed to start before the 1st of June, includes permitting cultural and sporting events to take place behind closed doors to broadcast while avoiding the risk of large-scale social contact. So effectively saying, I mean, that effectively means that the Premier League and all its entity will most likely resume from the 1st of June, bar, I assume, issues with coronavirus and stuff like that affecting the personal teammates. I would imagine that this also means that teams must be allowed to resume training. Well, from now, basically, because if the Premier League is going to start, or if they're allowing the Premier League to start from the 1st of June, then it must mean that, players must be allowed to train from now. That's what I assume. So I would imagine, especially given that Arsenal and the like, I think they resumed training from last week, if I'm correct. Individual training. I think group training will probably resume from now. So that at least that's what I think anyway. So let's just continue going for this article. Speaking in the House of Commons on Monday, Prime Minister Boris Johnson said being able to hold sporting events behind closed doors could provide a much-needed morale boost, which is fair enough. The document states that reopening venues that attract large crowds, such as sporting crowds, may only be fully possible later, depending on the reduction in numbers of infected. And to be fair, the recent numbers today were about, I think, 269. I think were the numbers today. So there is clearly a direction that's going on. Now, this is where things get interesting, because I'm going to put this to one side for a second, but it's important to sort of mention this point. Oh, by the way, guys, get involved in the comments as well. If you have any questions as well, let me know. We're happy to address those. This is where it gets interesting, because the Premier League clubs are meeting tomorrow to continue discussions on Project Restart. So that's obviously separate to what the government have basically in terms of guidance. And there's been talks around the Premier League as to whether or not that they should scrap it, because it's one thing to say, right, okay, yeah, all football can start from the 1st of June. But as we've realized the last couple of days or so, people have seemed to have different vested interests in how that should look like. The Premier League already proposed various things like meeting at neutral venues. They want to try and do home and away games. They also want to sort of see whether or not they can play a lot of games a lot closer together. And this obviously is creating a bit of a problem, because certain teams, obviously the lower teams, don't really feel like that this is a benefit to them, that this advantages them, that this disadvantages them, and especially those teams that are battling relegation right now. So it's a predicament right now. And of course, the Premier League Council, Premier Managers, it's a democracy. So all the clubs have to agree. Well, the majority of clubs anyway have to agree on a strategy going forward. And right now, from what we can see anyway, there does not seem to be a clear strategy going forward for the Premier League, which isn't really ideal at this moment in time. It's not ideal. So where do you see this going? I don't know. Where do you see this going? I mean, if we just keep on going on here, obviously talking about Formula One, British rugby, etc. Sporting out here, this is important keeping here. The government's current aim is to introduce step 2 of its plan on the 1st of June, but only if progress made sufficiently controlling the spread of the virus. Lifting restrictions could be delayed. Sporting events involving international travel could be affected by the government's planned requirement for all international arrivals not on a short list of exemptions to self-isolate for 14 days after arrival in the UK. Now, this is the big thing that I want to that I certainly want to talk about for quite a bit in that thing on this idea of, especially when it comes to the Europa League and the Champions League et al. This is a very, 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 very big worry for the likes of, well, Liverpool obviously out of it now. Well, actually, let's think about this for a second. Liverpool out of it already. Okay. Chelsea were going to be going to play in Germany anyway, so and they're probably going to be out of it already. Spurs, I think, were also going to be going to play in Germany, so they're effectively out of it already. So and City, so really the only team that this obviously affects, ironic enough, is Manchester City, because Real Madrid obviously were going to be flying into Manchester to Manchester for the second leg. And if the government go ahead with this and say, well, hang on for a second, for any team, and they haven't given a deadline on this, but for any team that then flies into the UK, has to be quarantined for 14 days. Well, effectively, what that means is that if Real Madrid fly in, if a scheduled Champions League game, for example, on the 17th of August, the Real Madrid side would have to be quarantined for 2 weeks, which can't happen. So does that mean that then Real Madrid have to fly 2 weeks before? And it just gets confusing, you know. So I think that it really, really puts a spanner in the works when it comes to European play, especially if we're playing home and away games. If home and away games are scrapped, or if they play neutral venues, that's one thing. But if we're talking about home games, and also include Manchester United in this, because Manchester United are still in the Europa League, as are Wolves. Those 3 teams, realistically, the only teams that are going to be carrying. I mean, I doubt Chelsea. Liverpool obviously out. Chelsea are probably going to be gone, and Spurs are going to be gone. So it's really going to be only going to be Man City that are going to be flying the football flag, and from a Europa League point of view, it's going to be Celtic still in there, I think. Are they Celtic or Rangers? I can't remember. One of them is still in. But certainly from the Premier League point of view, Manchester United and Wolves, they're definitely in. So it's gonna be difficult. It's really, really gonna be difficult. And I really don't know what the best solution is to this. You know, I've always said actually the best solution is actually to cancel the Champions League and the Europa League, to restart it, and to use the current sittings for this season to then progress and then move on with what needs to be. So basically, make this competition null and void, and then restart. Finish the seasons, but make the UEFA League and Champions League on, because it'd be a lot easier to get domestic seasons finished than it will be European competitions, given the fact that there is just so much uncertainty regarding travel restrictions and all the rest of it, and that just causes, you know, huge problems, in my opinion. You know, so I don't know what you think, guys, and obviously for those who are watching, or for those who will watch in the future, let me know what you guys think in the comments, because I just think that, this is a very, very, very difficult circumstance. It's a difficult circumstance, and I don't know what the solution is. The positive thing about this situation is that at the very least we have a return date. We can work to that return date. There is something that we can do about that, but they're just still. We have a date. We have a date. Like I said, we have a date. That's the most important thing. But I just still think that there's still too many variables right now there's a lot of people obviously that have their own vested interests in this whole thing, which obviously complicates things. So yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know what you guys think. Do you guys think this will work? Do you guys think it won't work? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. So that's the Premier League, obviously, return date issue. We'll move on to the next. Montaha. Let me get Montaha on what you say. Montaha, can you hear me? Montaha. Montaha, can you hear me? Let me try again. No. Oh, not there. Okay. Almost there. Anyway, I'll try and see if I can get Montaha on. Montaha's a solid guy, so you just see what he has to say. 2 seconds. Okay. Anyway, right. I'll keep on speaking about this topic anyway. Oh, yeah, he's back. Montaha.
Hello. Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, we can hear you guys. I can hear you guys. Vaz, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Montaha as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. You guys audible? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Great. Thanks, guys, for coming on. So onto this podcast.
Nice. It's the first time, like on your channel, bro. So.
I really appreciate you guys coming
Hello.
on. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. You're audible. Yeah, you're audible.
I'm audible. So, I mean, this basic topic, I'm just interested in what you guys will think. It's obviously just regarding the news, the Premier League return date. Obviously, well, it's not the Premier League return date. It's that no professional sport will basically start until the 1st of June, which effectively means the Premier League will return probably from the 1st of June. I'm just interested to see what your thoughts are on it, because I've sort of said a few things like how certain Premier League clubs, smaller clubs, don't want the Premier League to return because of some of the ideas about the Premier League returning in like neutral venues and all the rest of it. So with the Premier League potentially set to return to the 1st of June, how do you think it will work? How do you think it will look like? What do you think will happen?
Okay, so I'll start with this thing. First of all, like there are 30,000 plus fatalities, all over the UK. So I mean, yeah, but we we have template of Bundesliga. So I mean, we'll see this week, how Bundesliga works. For me, bro, I think so. Like we cannot compare our stats with Germany. I believe Germany is better, and they have been testing really hard. So for us, I think so. We should follow the template of Spain. How they do in La Liga, for example. They're testing, okay, and there's been tests every week. And for example, like they found in La Liga, 5 players are like positive with the coronavirus thing. But what they're trying to do is that so those 5 players won't participate in the tournament unless and until they complete the quarantine days or they fully recover from the virus. And then secondly, we have I mean, with respect to Prem, I believe it's like June 1st. They're saying that, but but they need a permission of health ministry or something like that, so it might be extended as well, if I'm not wrong, so I mean we have enough time, so to analyze and to see this thing how it will go. Well, I believe that I'm quite positive, like Prem will start by the first week of June, most probably. Yeah, and I think we should do that and test every week players, every week training sessions, I mean that's the perfect way, I believe, right now.
Fair enough. Vaz, what do you think? What's your thought?
I don't know, dude. It's gonna be very awkward, in my opinion, because like there'll still be no fans. I don't think there'll be fans. The thing is that this coronavirus, like even in Germany, the thing is they reopened they eased some restrictions, but the problem is that they experienced a spike in cases in just 2 days. I think the cases were about 5,000 in Germany, so it might end up being like another lockdown. I don't know. And it's going to be awkward to watch in empty stadiums. I mean, from the perspective of the players, okay, I guess they can be more focused because it's going to be different from there too. It's going to be like wake up, go to training, and then on match days, just go straight from home to the team bus or, to the training ground and then to the stadium and just play in an empty stadium and then go back home. So they might not have as many distractions. It might just be training and all sport, but It's gonna be odd, dude. And I think maybe like I don't know when they're planning to start 2021 season, but there might be just like a maybe 3 or 4 days gap between matches. It might be something like the winter schedule, the Christmas schedule, Boxing Day, where there's matches every couple of days. Because they have to they might have to push through and get all the fixtures done in time for a little bit of summer vacation and then back to 2021. So I don't know how this is gonna pan out, and I feel like if they cancel the season, there won't be much backlash. I mean, some of the teams from the championship might be disappointed that they won't get promoted, but and from the other side of it, obviously Liverpool fans, but I don't know like if any other fan base or any other club will complain much if they do decide to just cancel the season altogether and just move on to the summer and then season 2021. That's my thoughts on it.
No, you make an interesting point about just about what the other teams will sort of think about it, because I mean I was reading today actually because of this. I don't know what's happened with the Scottish Premier League. I don't think they've voided it yet, but I think that one of the Scottish, I think it might be the one below, that they've cancelled. They've voided theirs. It might be the Premier League, but the one beneath it anyway. But what basically this article said was that it was a team called Patrick Thistle. Basically, and what they've basically done is that they're now taking that league to court, basically, and that was in the Scottish league, and that just made me just think that, I think you're right in that most people probably would be okay with it, but I still have a hunch that it wouldn't surprise me about the Leeds in the Championship, because of how much money's involved, and that some of the bottom teams might actually, especially if they pursue like a relegation scenario, or they don't, I don't know, they might, come up and sue the Premier League or cause them problems. Am I making sense, guys, or is that, what do you think?
No, but for me, look, it's quite clear, right? So I mean, the government, especially in UK, the situation is like that. They're afraid of the second wave of coronavirus. Okay, we don't know how it might come. Okay, this could be a first wave, end of first wave. Might be second wave could approach anytime soon. We don't know. That's the kind of insecurity and sense of where we don't have a confirmation anything with regarding this virus situation right now. So even if we played closed door right now, closed door is like most secured way of playing. Okay, I mean less than 300 staff, something like that. Maximum could be in one game, and I mean. They have to maintain some protocols, which is given by, the NHS and the Health Ministry as well. So, let's see how it goes. But I think so. It might work, because I've seen in some of the sports, for example, WWE and all the sports, so they are doing kind of closed door. But it's like, still like you have 22 players on pitch, and like more than that, like approximately 50 players are there, minimum. In minimum circumstances, close to you have 50 people, like in the stadium, and how they're going to do it, we don't know, man. And the other thing is, for example, okay, if players are like they're attending the training sessions and everything, right? Okay, for this week, they goes back to the family, and some of them might be infected with the disease and everything, so they might spread the infection. The virus. We don't know. So that's also kind of insecurity we have over there. So it's pretty much ambiguous situation how we're going to deal with this thing. But there are some positive cases, of coronavirus, but let's see how it goes, because I believe that, if you try to contain as much as, like, for example, training sessions, right? This is my opinion, when players are having training session, for a month, players should not be in contact with their families or the personal, friends or relatives or whatever. They should be isolated in the training camps, for example, in the sport complex, whatever, where, like, for example, Chelsea in Cobham, so they have, all those facilities for Chelsea players, same goes for United, all those, top tier big Prem clubs, or like, first division club. So they can afford to do that. So I think they should take that drastic measures, to to literally to avoid player, the specific player, to have a contact with their families and relatives. So in that way, you can contain. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just reading some of these comments so that I just missed. Raymond Moore, shout out to you. Hope you're still watching. Does everyone get tested before they resume the league? It will be a huge red flag to resume without testing everybody first. That's what we said. And then Telber, shout out to you, said, yeah, in Poland, every player gets tested on the coronavirus. So I assume that England will be the same as well. Well, you would assume that. I mean, I think Boris, the way that, I don't want to make this the political conversation, but I think there is an assumption that the way that the UK government has handled this situation has not been the best. You don't have the second highest death rate in Europe, and that's a success. That's my opinion. I'm sure that's an opinion shared by some people, but we'd assume that that's what they would do in terms of testing before they play. But Vaz, I think, mentioned a good point about the fact that they actually were, and certainly I think that there've been a lot of positive cases of people or players testing positive for coronavirus. And I think just recently, in fact, what we're going to talk about the Bundesliga returns, there's an article that I'm going to show up here which talks about the fact that there's a team that's basically about 3 or 4 of their players have tested positive, which means they have to isolate the team, which then means that team can't play, which then makes an issue with the whole schedule. So, what's going to happen, Montar, what's going to happen, Vaz, if players suddenly do start testing positive for coronavirus and we have to isolate again?
There is a solution, man. I mean, but the solution is from a footballing perspective, from the league perspective, this is a solution. But how many teams would be, agree on this? Will they come to the common terms? I don't know. I believe this is a solution, right? For example, so-and-so team, in Bundesliga, I'll give example from Dortmund. Okay, if any XYZ players get infected by coronavirus thing, right? So Dortmund, they cannot participate, my friend. You're out. I mean, at least for rest of the competition in rest of the games, you cannot play. I believe that should be kind of drastic measures they have to take it, bro. Because otherwise, you have to shut down the entire league campaign again. Or you take a drastic measure towards a certain team where you have to null and void that situation, regardless of their relegation zone or what. So in a sense, you have to be a bit more impartial towards a certain team. I believe partial with a certain team. Take some kind of measures, because I cannot see that, because if one player gets infected, I mean, to shut down all of the league again. Ooh. I mean, this is not a solution then. This is trial and error method we are going for. Oh, let's see if it works. I mean, then what's the point of, resuming the league and everything then? If you're infected, my friend, I mean, hard luck, you cannot play the rest of the competition. What can we say that? I mean, if you have better solution than this, then why not? Go ahead.
Fair enough, Matar. Vaz, any final points before we move on to the next topic quickly?
I feel like you're describing exactly what I predict is going to happen in Germany, because I feel like if a player doesn't get infected, the cases will either spike to such an extent that they will have to assume the lockdowns again. I feel like there's no, this is an unprecedented event. Nothing like this has ever happened, I think, in our lifetimes at least. And I feel like it's just going to result in another lockdown. And at that point, you have to cancel the season just altogether, just void the season, because you're not going to resume. I mean, what would be the point? You would have to just, I think, I mean, I'm in the camp of voiding the season now and just continuing on with summer break and then assuming the new season in the fall, because I don't think this is going to go away. That's just me though.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. We're going to quickly digress from this topic. Sorry, and I'll just bring up the next one. I'm just interested to see what your opinions on this are. And that is basically the reports anyway suggest that the Newcastle Takeover is going to be happening sometime this week. It's going to be announced this week, either this week or early next week. There've been a lot of the media press in the UK anyway is regarding, it talks a lot about the moral and the ethical issue, which is what the article is here, and maybe we can talk a bit about that if that is a fit, if that comes up. But I think what I want to really talk about is just what does this? Okay, what does I guess 3 questions I'll ask all of you is like, what does this mean for Newcastle Football Club? What does this mean for the Premier League? And what does this mean for like the fans? Maybe those are the 3 questions to narrow it down. So, Vas, you start this time.
I'm like, so you want us to ask questions?
Oh no, as in like, so those are the kind of the 3 questions to maybe guide your response or something. So, but it's free, like both to share your opinion on it. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. So like, what was the first question again? Can you repeat?
The first one was, what do you think? So, what do you think this impact will have? Like, we're assuming obviously this is going to go through. What do you think this impact will have on Newcastle Football Club? Like, how? Like, what is it? What will it realistically do for them?
Okay, it'll improve the team first of all, but it also has other ramifications after that. I think it'll improve the fan base as the team's, results start to improve, with Manchester City and Chelsea. Like, were Chelsea as big in terms of the fan base in the 90s as they were in the 2000s when they got Mourinho, when they got that sort of almost golden generation of players, started going into the semifinals of the Champions League more consistently, winning Premier Leagues, getting those results. Like, it'll definitely increase the size of their fan base. And I feel like their fan base, like Newcastle is a fairly big club. They've won Premier Leagues. I feel like they were bigger than Chelsea and Man City were before the foreign billionaire takeovers at those respective clubs. So I feel like it'll be good for the club. I think they will win titles. I mean, they'll definitely win titles before Tottenham do. I'll put it that way. They'll win titles before Tottenham. 100%. They'll win titles before Tottenham do. FA Cups, Premier Leagues, and possibly far in the Champions League if they buy right and they sign a good manager and they support that manager with the signings that he wants. So that's very crucial. So yeah, that's about it. I feel like Man City kind of made Chelsea almost obsolete because they kind of, the Sheikh Mansour, took over Manchester City. He obviously had more money than Abramovich. They were able to outcompete Chelsea in the market, and Chelsea sort of went on a dip after they won the Champions League and obviously the 2015 Premier League title. They sort of declined a little bit. They had a mini resurgence with Conte, but then the season after that, were woeful yet again. I think a lot of good players got older. Some players left and they sort of went on a downward tint, and Man City came back up. And I feel like with this takeover, like the Saudi family obviously has, over 10 times as much wealth, as many assets, as Sheikh Mansour did. So they might do to Man City kind of what Man City did to Chelsea, and I feel the next decade could be, see a new triumvirate in the Premier League of Liverpool if Klopp continues to rebuild his team. He could become almost a Ferguson of Liverpool. I think Man United are having a good young team, so we can see them come up. And I feel like Newcastle, with the money and the financial muscle that they have, they can build a good team, especially if they get a good manager. So we can see sort of a new big three in the Premier League, kind of like what Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man United were in the 2000s.
Okay, fair enough. It's SSJ Walsh. What's your thoughts? Is that your mic?
I don't know if that's yours or mine, depending on my room. Maybe it's because other things are in the way, creating an echo. So what's the topic? Or am I clear?
So yeah, so the Newcastle takeover, basically. So what the first question was, what do you think the impact will this imminent takeover will have on Newcastle Football Club?
In the short term or the long? I would say in the short term.
But start with the short term, obviously. I'm but talking from a term of realism, if it makes, because obviously in the short term they're not going to sign. Well, we're not going to sign Mbappe, for example.
Yeah, you're not going to get all the crazy marquee signings initially right away with the amount of money that they're going to be getting in with the new takeover. It's only a benefit to the club. They kind of hit the lottery, I think there's a lot of luck associated with things like this when you have somebody coming in and bringing in this much money. But in terms of the short-term impact, maybe there might be a lot of resentment from other clubs. I think that's a possibility. And I don't know if it's going to garner any results in the short term, just because you have a lot of money and you can't get the marquee signings initially. It only maybe puts like a little target on your back. So we'll see in terms of and how they perform. in the short term, but in the long term, it's only going to be extremely beneficial. If you look at City, obviously, when they got the takeover, I mean, look at them, how they've been extremely dominant in the last decade domestically. And you look at a lot of the clubs around the world that have a lot of oil money now, PSG as well. So they could become one of the more marketable clubs now, just based on the fact that they can galvanize new signings. And if they do so, and they do so successfully, and they get a manager in that is going to bring in other players with a certain philosophy, not only will that help with results with the current first team, but also they can build an infrastructure at youth level. And if they can build a youth level with a lot of the funds that they're bringing in, and they can create a structure that can rival of other top academies around the world, this can be a situation where you're seeing a complete turnaround. And this happens in a variety of sports and franchises throughout the last 50 to 60 years. Teams will have a turnover if they get money coming in terms of being able to develop new talent. So yeah, this can only benefit them in the long run. But the short term, it's going to be difficult to see what happens. But that's my take on that.
Okay, man, appreciate that so very, very, very much. And Taha, what's your thoughts?
Okay, so with respect to this, bro, I think so. Newcastle will be in the good shape and form with respect to their reputation in the football market before, like as was addressed some points, back in 90s, 80s, I mean, Newcastle was like a really good club. I mean, they have good reputation. Yeah, I mean, they were a big club than Chelsea and Man City. And one more thing I just want to say on this particular topic of Newcastle United. I mean, I don't think so. They want to rush, man, because I can see this project as a marketing project for Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, And if you see that, like the project of 2030 vision 2030, which is like still you have a decade, and this is more of a marketing project for them. So like they will take their time, I think so. Like initially they will buy, 1-2 big name, not marquee signing, but like a big name. For example, they are linked with the players like Gareth Bale. I mean, we're getting the news that they are linked with a player like Coutinho as well. I mean, so that could be a 2 signings, in next summer or something like that. So initially they will take a rest. I believe they won't rush that much. They might get a new manager, some good managers. For example, I just said Pochettino is there. Like there's so many great managers there. Like, but they don't have to rush. Like, to be honest, like it's not like back in those days, in mid 2000s, where Chelsea used to be, like in the driving seat, where like Abraham was just pumping money into the club, and like they want to rush. I think it would be like a more of like a Man City project. And yeah, like I pretty much agree with what Sean and Was just said. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so here's a question. I think I actually asked it on, and I'll start with Sean actually. And I actually asked it on Thingy's Hangout. Was that obviously if one team rises, then potentially another team falls. And so I guess my question is, if Newcastle, if we believe, do obviously become successful, which established Premier League team do you think now will lose out?
I don't know if I agree with that sentiment. Just because one team is getting, from a financial perspective, increasing their value, I don't think that necessarily means that another club is going to lose out. In terms of, okay, if you want to look at the standings in terms of maybe top 6, you want to look at the marketability in terms of the outreach and different fans, and if it might take away fans from like the I guess the fans that go to teams that win, or the bandwagoners might go to Newcastle if they were supporting Chelsea, however. So if I want to get hypothetical with that and then pick a club that I think would lose out, it would be one of the lesser teams in the top 6, the proverbial top 6, with obviously City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United. So if I had to pick one club out of that 6 that would suffer, it would be Tottenham, simply because there are fans that want to see a team that wins, and Tottenham don't have the trophy haul or the history in terms of bringing in trophies. And if Newcastle is able to do that relatively quickly in the next 5 to 10 years, bring in a trophy, then yeah, it can take away from, I would think, if any of the top 6 clubs, it would take away from Tottenham. However, I don't think that just because one team is doing better financially, another team will will filter out, because I don't think there's a cap. It's not like you're taking away from other clubs' funding. It's just that you're bringing in another club, another owner who has a large amount of resources. That doesn't mean that Tottenham won't potentially do the same down the line, because there's going to be another owner down the line that maybe has oil money that will manage Tottenham. So it's not going to take away from anything. It's just going to add on to the billion-dollar industry that is the EPL. It's just everything's just gonna bolster up. So it's not gonna take away from anything, in my opinion. Only the bandwagoners. Only the bandwagoners.
So I say that point again, Sean.
Only the bandwagoners. I think your plastic fans that just go to teams that win. Tottenham don't win. So if you're going to do that, I mean, they would. If anything, Tottenham.
Is the summary? If anything, Tottenham. If
anything, Tottenham. If anything, Tottenham. Unfortunately, I mean, just look at the stars that leave and then automatically do well. Bale, Modric. I mean, right away. It's just like I don't know.
You know what? I agree with Sean. Instead of going to MLS, they can go to Newcastle. Yeah, for a year or two.
Might as well.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened with PSG when they were starting their project. You know, you got Beckham went there, obviously Zlatan went there, although he was in his prime. You know, Ronaldinho went there, didn't he? I think at one point, PSG. I think he did. So I wouldn't be surprised if they started with, signing players who are of that caliber. So, but I think what I was almost trying to say was that, like, clearly when City came into the picture, clearly when Chelsea came into the picture, the weaker teams at the time, which I would say with Chelsea, I think the team that suffered the most was actually Liverpool. And I think then when City then came into the picture, by what suffer I mean, getting regular Champions League football, competing for the title regularly, etc. And I think when Man City came into the picture, I feel like Arsenal were the team that suffered in terms of getting Champions League football, in terms of actually making a competitive threat for the Champions League. And obviously United have struggled away as well. So I guess I just feel that if Newcastle are going to be a competitive force, suddenly, as you said, the proverbial top 6 becomes a top 7. And that's not including teams like Leicester City or even Wolves that look like they're on the rise themselves and have billion owners as well. But I mean, I obviously spoke to Montaha before I go to Vaz. Who do you think potentially, if there is going to be a team, will suffer from this whole thing?
Okay, so for me, bro, I just want to say one thing, and it's a kind of banter, bro. Newcastle would be heaven for Was, because Was lost to, change the team. So I mean, so because I mean, bro. First of all, how it's fair, bro? I mean, a country, literally a state, is sponsoring a club. No, man, that's not fair, man. Because it's like entire kingdom of Saudi Arabia is investing on Newcastle United. Bro, come on, that's not fair.
No,
I mean, with respect to Man City, it was a case where, like, the highness of like the particular region, it was his own personal firm and everything, so he was investing in that way. But over here, the state is directly funding the club. No, I mean that's too much, man. I think so. It's going to be more than one. I mean, right now, Daniel Levy might be shaking, bro. Not gonna lie, bro. I mean, because of investment, Newcastle United is capable of, for example, in 4 years, even if they're getting, some tier 2 level players, tier 3 level players, the player who's like about to just finish their career, I mean, even though that's really good for Prem. I mean, they can make top 4, they can challenge for that at least, in 2-3 years, after 2 years, most probably. After 2 years, 2 seasons, So, I mean, this is like a really difficult situation. Another club, might be suffer from this. I mean, Spurs are going on. If Newcastle wants to rush, I think the Spurs are not anymore in the picture of top 4, man. Top 4, top 5. Nah, Spurs are not there. Chelsea might suffer. And the reason Chelsea might suffer, because I haven't seen, because we all know that the problem with Roman Abramovich, but the home office thing and everything, he's not initially interested in investing more into Chelsea project. He was looking to sell the club as well. I mean, he's not any more interested in this kind of industry of investing the money, and making money out of this industry. So Chelsea might suffer, man. I think so. They're swallowing Spurs, I believe, and they're like Chelsea will be affected a lot. So in 5 seasons, I believe, Newcastle will be a really serious team. In Europe, you have to say it. So I believe, yeah, like that's dangerous for
the tie. Oh, you there?
Man City as well. Now, City knows that. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, bro, we can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you, man. Can you hear us?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my flipping mic, bro.
There we go.
Okay. So yeah, I believe that Newcastle have a really financial power to pull up some transfer, marquee signings, whatnot now after 3 seasons. So I believe, yeah, they will be a really serious threat for clubs like Man United, City, and Liverpool. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Before I go into Raymond Moore actually says Newcastle even eyeing Argala. They are serious about rebuilding the team. We'll see about that. And Stu MC says best thing about Newcastle, the fans deserve it, passionate and loyal, and travel the length and breadth of the country as opposed to United. We are full of entitled glory hunting, prawn sandwich plebs. Of course, that dig was going to cover you, but I am a United fan, but I'm not bitter or anything like that. All I would say is that we won the treble and you didn't. Baz, over to you.
So it's definitely Manchester City. I do think it's Manchester City because if you see what happened between Manchester City and Chelsea, that Manchester City were able to outcompete them for the best players in this decade. The fact that Chelsea couldn't really buy, couldn't really afford the best talent, after the 2000s, they sort of went on sort of a downward spiral in many ways. They had to rely. The reason that they won the Premier League in 2017 is just because Conte could do wonders with a weakened squad, a small squad of quite frankly untalented players. If it wasn't for him, they probably wouldn't have won the Premier League. But Manchester City, they really came up. They used their stronger financial muscle to get players that Chelsea couldn't. And the reason is that, that Chelsea was the club to go down, I believe, is that, clubs like Manchester United have a bit more prestige. So players, because of the history and the brand, will want to go to Manchester United. And Manchester United do have a lot of financial muscle, but I feel like the brand is in itself is attractive to players. I feel like that plays a role as well. It's not just it's the fact that United have the money, not as much as what Newcastle and Manchester City do. They have a little bit. They have they can compete with them in that, but also the brand makes United still a very attractive club. That isn't necessarily the case for Chelsea. A prime example is Lukaku. Lukaku, was sought after by Conte and by Mourinho, but he ended up choosing United because he himself said it. It's the history of the club, the badge. He wants to play for Man United, so Man United isn't going to be harmed by this. I don't think Liverpool is either. But it's really going to be Manchester City, because I think we'll end up seeing what happened to Chelsea happen to them. And another thing that people haven't looked at, I thought Mutab would look at it from this way, but another thing, don't you think, is the owners themselves? The owners themselves, the Saudi, crop. Football is a very popular sport in Arabic countries. As opposed to maybe Chinese owners who took over clubs like Milan. I feel like if the owners were East Asian, they wouldn't. It would be maybe a club that older players could go to. To sort of instead of MLS, where they could just sit there and make money, retire rich, all that stuff. But I feel like these guys are very ambitious. They want to win. There was an interview. I think Muta, you told me this. There was an interview where they were asked about okay, what are your goals? And then they said, we want to win the Champions League right away. So I think this is they're coming at this with the ambition of similar to the PSG owners.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
And another thing is that another reason I feel like City especially is going to be targeted is because of the rivalry between Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE. Obviously, the latter backs Manchester City. I feel like the Saudis, it's one of the main reasons the Saudis are pouring so much money into Newcastle to build them up and be a national, intranational rival to Manchester City. And I feel like they will. One of their goals is, Manchester City undoubtedly are I know Liverpool this season really battered everybody. But in the last 2-3 years, 4 years, 5-6 years, Manchester City are really the prominent team in England. They broke the points tally. They racked up another 98 points the season after. They were the dominant team these last couple of years. Domestically, they won the quadruple, the treble last season. So I feel like they're the ones who they have the target on their back, and I feel like Newcastle, the owners, the Saudi Arabian owners of Newcastle will want to buy a top manager, build up a very strong squad to compete with them. Another reason it could be Manchester City is because of the issues that City have themselves. The Champions League ban, I don't think that's been lifted yet, has it? So will top players, want to go there, or will they want to go to Newcastle, an up and coming club, where they know they're going to get money, and they know, a couple of years, the team, plays everything, they will make change. So Newcastle might be in that way also a more attractive destination than Manchester City. So I feel like definitely Manchester City, like Chelsea in this decade, will start to go on a little bit of a dip, and Newcastle will definitely be the club towards the end of the next decade that will rise to prominence and compete with Liverpool and Man United.
Fair enough. Okay, that's well versed, fast. Well versed. Abdullahi, who's just joined the chat. Abdullahi, you there? Abdullahi, you there? What is he doing? It must be away or something. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So, I guess before we move on to the topic, just final thoughts on this. And I guess we should touch it. And I'm just curious to see what your views are, because I don't know how it's supported in different countries. But I think one of the things that seems to be going on at Report Owner is the sort of moral issue regarding this takeover, as I think Baz and I think Mantar actually mentioned it. You've got basically like a whole country that's effectively buying the club, a whole country that doesn't necessarily have the best reputation for certain things. Do you? And I think, and I was asked this because I live in Newcastle, and I was asked this, and I was like, is there like a issue, as a fan, when you have owners, or should it be an issue when you have owners that are tied doing questionable things? Does that impact you as a fan? Is that an issue for Newcastle fans? Like what do you guys think?
So should I go first?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay. So with respect to Newcastle, I mean, with respect to club, right? I believe from a fan perspective, it won't hamper them. Like, I mean, because why they want to stop the progress of their own club? I don't understand this thing. Because this is a progression. This is like, you are entering into the big boys, conversation or discussion or whatever, right? Okay, so you're getting into big boys category right now. So I don't think so. Most of the fans will have problem, but activists definitely, and some of the journalists definitely have problem. I can understand where they're coming from, but for example, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we have seen how many, Gulf countries, I mean, Arab rich billionaires have invested in infrastructure project of UK, and most of the time, they have invested in 5-star hotels and everything, in facilities and everything, they invested a lot. So when they do investment over there, you don't have any problem with that. Why? I mean, I think that that's kind of double standards, I believe, because it's a club, they're investing in club and football club, and then you have a problem. But I can understand the point. The point is, like, when you invest into, for example, in properties or whatever, right? So in a sense, you cannot do marketing of yourself. But when you're owner of a club, I mean, then your personal reputation matters. Yeah, everything good.
So
that's Abdullah. Yeah, how you doing?
Hey, are you okay, buddy? Mantar, go on, finish your point.
Yeah, so I mean, I can understand. So it's like they're trying to, color the situation. Okay, you cannot buy the club because you can spread your agendas, through football, like we have seen, like for example in Spain, Barcelona. I mean, like Catalonia. I mean, some Spanish authorities, they claim that Barcelona, they market the Catalonian independence through football. the propaganda. They spread the propaganda through football. I mean, I can understand. So that's what there are like some journalists and some activists, they're fear of, like, spreading that kind of propaganda from a club. I mean, Newcastle. I mean, that would be like hamper the situation and the current reputation of the club and the region as well. So, but I still believe that, but it's a kind of hypocrite because the reason is that because once they invest in other projects or like in hotels and everything I just mentioned, then you don't have any problem with that. So that's my stand. So I believe that. I don't think so. It will hamper that much the reputation of the region, for example, from the northerners, northern region of England, Yes, I don't think so. It will hamper that much.
So I think that's the big thing in Newcastle is that Mike Ashley was hated universally by all Newcastle fans. So any owner coming in was going to be a god compared to Mike Ashley, let alone an owner coming in with like billions of pounds, obviously. But so
exactly. And if you see, but Ashley, right? I mean, he changed the name of the stadium. I mean, he literally, how should I say, like, spoil the reputation of the club and everything. I mean, he was like pretty much, spreading his propaganda through, his business propaganda, business policies, everything, portraying through a club. And that was his doing, and he was getting best out of it. And that is also ultimate aim or goal of this current, future Newcastle United owners, So they want to portray their country reputation, their marketing through this club, which is like the best tool to do that, I believe. Because you watch the club playing week in, week out, there will be advertisement, there will be so it will help their own nation to boost the tourism and everything. So it's not just a small thing, like they want to invest in the project just for the love for the football. I know that, but it's more than that. So like for me, bro, like I don't have any problem. Like if they invest, bro, I think so that would be betterment for the club, for the region, and yeah. So I think so. I pretty much agree with Newcastle United fans' perspective. Yeah.
Fair enough. Just quick on with history before I go to what Abdullahi thinks. Real Madrid had General Franco to thank for promoting them as a symbol for United Spain. Most major clubs have some dodgy grounds behind their success. What's new? I mean, that is a fair point. Abdullahi, just what do you think? I mean, just so you obviously just come in a bit late, but just what your thoughts on this whole Newcastle takeover are, and then maybe any of the ethical issues surrounding it. So just give me summary what you think.
Yeah, like what I said, the latest news I heard about the Newcastle takeover is, I think, for me, they need some, I think like 2-3 years for them to cajole together into the Premier League, because now it depends on which manager they're hiring for their manager, because I know Steve Bruce is gonna leave in the end of the summer, like around June, July, it will leave. So someone has to come in to be. Is it gonna be a top tier manager or top 2 manager? It depends on which manager they're hiring for their job. If they're hiring someone like maybe Massimiliano Allegri or Mauricio Pochettino, now they have a top tier manager who is ready to be backed by the club. Now, which player are they gonna attract into the club? Kalidou Koulibaly, Felipe Coutinho. Who are the players? Who are the players going to come into the team and rebrand that team entirely? Because Newcastle are one of the biggest fans in England right now.
Yeah.
So for them, for the fans to be optimistic and the club to believe, yes, we're on the right path, they need the support, because we can't just get a manager and be like, oh, we get a new manager, boom, we can win Premier League in the first season. It's not done that way. Antonio Conte done it because he's a top tier manager. And Chelsea is not just one club. Chelsea is, let me say, one of the top 5 clubs in the world in terms of winning trophies and everything. So Conte coming in, we know, guaranteed trophies. We know.
No, Abdullah, you're missing the point. Once, when Conte arrived in Chelsea, right? Sorry to interrupt you, by the way, but I just want to say that when Conte arrived in Chelsea was established club.
Exactly.
They have players. No. I understand your point, but for example, like what happened, when Abramovich took over, first time the Chelsea club, and then immediately in 2 seasons, they will be like really great team, So we can see that, but the probability is quite low.
That was actually they need a top tier manager. Like when Abramovich took over, we had with this guy that won the Leicester City, the Premier League. What's his name?
The French guy. Yeah, Ranieri.
So it was one taken over before Abramovich came in. When Abomimi said, I want to say, Ose came in, we bought Drogba, we bought Cavao, we bought Essien, we bought Mikel, we bought so many players because Roman was ready to spend money. He wants to win trophies. So it was ready to spend money. Now it depends on the manager of Newcastle United. Who is he gonna go for? Massimiliano Allegri, Mauricio Pochettino. Who are they gonna take over? It depends on which manager they're taking over. Now, if they get the right manager, are they gonna back the manager? That is the second question. The third question is, if they back the manager, which player is he gonna get for this team? Are they gonna play entertaining football or defensive counter-attacking football? That is what we need to understand. Because yes, they can take over and they kind of get a manager who doesn't even suit to what they want. It depends on the owner. What does the owner want? That is the exact question we need to ask.
Abdullahi, but like since I'm reading articles about Newcastle, like like the fans and like the ballroom of Newcastle, like what you're trying to tell us, like to the media is like they want to build the team from scratch. It's not like they want to totally depend upon like just buying the players, They want to develop football,
Yeah, so want to develop football. The only coach
I mean, they want to pretty much replicate what United did in the early 90s,
Early 90s, good. If they want to do that in the early 90s, what United did in the early 90s, they need to get Mauricio Pochettino. That is the right coach for them. Because, he knows about the youth. He can train the youth very well. In terms of bringing youth into the first team, Pochettino is the right man for them.
Am I the only one who thinks Pochettino's an overrated manager? Like,
yeah, I agree with it, kinda. I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Because Poch is the right manager for them to bring in youth in. Because if you want to get a top tier manager, do you think Allegri is gonna bring in youth in? I doubt it. But in terms of Poch, Poch is gonna establish youth players. It may not attract the big name player like Koulibaly, this kind of player, but at least it's gonna attract some big players who's gonna help those teams flourish in the near future. So if they want to play like United early 90s, they need a manager who is ready to like give the youth chances, like to blend them into the first team, like the way Chelsea does, like Tammy, Mason Mount, Bill Gilmore, this kind of stuff. They have Lampard and Jordan Morris knows about the youth. So Roman give him the chance, do your job. Let's see where we're gonna feel in the season. That is what
I don't think that's how it's gonna happen, dude. Like, I don't think the owners care about the youth. Honestly, they don't care about the youth, dude. Like, I mean, it's the Jordan meme, fuck them kids. That's their mentality.
According to
with the money that they have, like,
Loud, Vaz, speak. Go on, Vaz, speak.
Okay, go on.
But do you really need to spend that all that? Do you really think they're going to spend all that money building up the academy, dude? I feel like with the mentality that they have, they'll think that's a really lame idea. I think that I think Allegri would be a better manager, and I feel like Allegri can be a really good manager for a project like this, where he has the financial muscle to just go out and just raid other clubs for their young talent instead of like getting very, very like teenagers, putting them through the B team, and raising them through the system and then slowly bringing them into the first team. That's not how this is gonna roll. Like, they're gonna get a top manager, probably. He's gonna come in, hopefully they'll ask him what he wants instead of just going out and doing what they think is right. Hopefully they ask him what he wants, and then that manager would then be able to go out, go to Bundesliga, Liga, a lot of these clubs, and then sort of like even Serie A. I mean, if it's Allegri, he's definitely going to get players from Serie A over, and then they're gonna just just pick and choose from the smaller clubs in those countries, which young talent or older talent, more experienced talent would be appropriate for this team. And I know we talked about this before, but I really, really, really hope they stay away from three players. That's Griezmann, Coutinho, and the other one is Haaland. I hope they stay away from these three for different reasons. Griezmann and Coutinho, because it would give Barca way too much money. I mean, Barca could mince these Saudis for everything they got, enough to rebuild their team. Or maybe they'll do that and then squander the funds for a second time. That might also happen, but still.
We like to hope. Sorry to interrupt you. That they obviously pay attention to football, because I know there were certain United fans that were trying to hype Phil Jones and Jesse Lingard and saying that they are world class players. If we could sell them to Newcastle, then we could get money from them. So I assume the assumption is that the Saudi owners will know what quality footballers to go for, not to go for, or do you have doubts about that?
I'm skeptical. Okay, I won't say I'm pessimistic, but I'll say I'm skeptical about it because the thing is that it can go one of two ways. They get a top quality manager who knows football in and out. Okay, if they trust that manager, obviously they're not gonna go for. I don't think they're gonna go for a Coutinho. You know, like obviously not, because like no top manager will want to build a team around somebody as overrated as Coutinho. You know, they'll want to go out and buy some other young players and then like build a younger team, a team for the future, a team that can compete, you know, with the bigger clubs in England. But like the thing is that might not happen.
Was actually I want to interrupt you over there. You know why? You know why? Like
so,
yeah. So like the thing is what, right? I understand your point and I agree, right? But look, there's a certain situation right now. Newcastle United is like they don't want to end up like PSG. For example, like in PSG, players are playing for just money. You know, they don't care about the competitive level. They don't care about the moral values attached to the club. You know, the goals and manifesto, like the specific club. They don't care about that. I mean, they don't want to end up like a PSG reputation. Oh, go there for money, you will get money. You know, or they don't care about this. I mean, that would hamper the club for building for the long run. You know what? They have time, I believe. So in the next 5 years, if they start from scratch, you know, getting those players, you know, who love to play for a club rather than more of like personal gains, for example, reputation for their own reputation or for money, you know, all the stuff, you know. So it's better to invest from scratch initially for at least 5 seasons. I don't think so. You have like you have no pressure on you, okay, except you have to avoid relegation zone, which is like I know that's risky. Yeah, but aside from that, if you're making progress, like in step by step, you know, in 5 years' time, you can build a team, and then you can buy 1 or 2 stars, 3 stars, you know, and then you can start in that way. Because what PSG did, PSG signed Ibrahimovic, Cavani from Napoli, all of those players, you know, and they start building, and they just don't care about the club anymore. So, I mean, you don't have to end up in that way, you know. That's the problem. But like I understand the more ruthless way of going, you know, buying players. But I know that's riskier right now. Initially, for at least 3-4 seasons, you know, improve your academy, improve your facilities, improve everything, and by the time once you reach 4-5 years, then buy a place. For example, Man City. Look how Man City did. They bought Robinho. They signed Robinho from Real Madrid. They start buying slowly, like all those players. They improve the academy as well.
I'll stop. I will stop with that.
Why?
Into with Man City's academy thing is that like I sort of get that in principle, but like, can you name like one like Man City academy player? And don't say Phil Foden, please. Like
no, I like of course I understand where you're coming from. Of course, they're not that reputed right now in world football. Even back in those days, I give you that. I understand. But it's like, you know, it's like hand-to-hand process, bro. Like for me, if you just go in one direction, right? Keep on investing. At the end of the day, I mean, let's be honest, bro. Like if you want to sign big name superstar, I mean, with Liverpool, like all these big clubs, Man United, they can bounce back. The reason is that they have that trophy cabinet, they have the record, they have the history behind their back. Pedigree, in a sense, yeah. Pedigree is a white word, you know. I mean, so it won't hamper them that much. But the club like Newcastle, no, it will hamper them because the players won't take you seriously or your footballing institution seriously, you know. So that's my problem. So you have to wait, I believe, 5 years. And I mean, sign big players. I'm not saying, but like not every position, bro. Like what PSG did.
Fair enough. It's quick. We've got still 2 more topics left. I'm just going to quickly read a comment from Raymond Moore. He's been on. Who cares how much you own a football team as long as they abide by financial fair play? Well, that is probably a story for another time, and that will probably obviously affecting City down the line. Now, the third topic I kind of just want to briefly discuss, kind of ties to what we talked about before, is just regarding the Bundesliga returning. So hopefully this one between, because the last was going to be about the Champions League returning, who you guys think could potentially win the EPL. So I want to dedicate more time to that. But this story, I think, was important because from what I remember, the Bundesliga was set to return the 19th of May, which is not this week, but next week. And now, obviously, you see this story, if you guys can see it in The Guardian, you know, that Dynamo Dresden, which is basically, this is a Bundesliga 2 team, to be fair, that quite a few of the players actually tested positive for the coronavirus. Now, there have been Bundesliga players that have tested positive for the coronavirus as well. Do you think that? I guess a simple question is: do you guys think the Bundesliga will go ahead? It's really as simple as that. Like because if the Bundesliga for me doesn't go ahead, then I can't see how the other leagues, like the Serie, like the Liga, like the Premier League, go ahead. And if they do go ahead, how does the league go ahead if players are still testing positive for coronavirus? So I'll put that on to I think Abdullah hasn't spoken for it.
Okay, you want me to go for the Bundesliga opening?
Yeah.
For me, I think. But the problem is we need to understand the health, the safety, and the health of the people first. If the coronavirus is not that much in the German league, I think it's fair enough to start the league. But the main priority is how did the player play? Because players are used to the fans. The fans is not gonna come to the stadium. It's gonna be like an empty stadium, closed doors. How the players gonna react? How are we gonna get used to the empty stadium, playing without fans? Because that's an intimidation for some fans. For some clubs, it's an intimidation because they will lose revenues, merchandise, and everything's gonna get lost. So how are they gonna react into that? Because we can't just watch football right now. It's not done. We need to do the right thing at the right time, the appropriate time. We need to do it because we can't just rush things. When we rush things, what if you rush things at the end of the day, people started having the virus and everything, people started kind of getting infected. So we need to be careful about the pandemic and everything. So if it's not that much in the German Bundesliga, I think I would say it's rightly safe for them to start it. But if it is that much there, at the moment right now, we need to put a stop to it because health is important right now. Yes, I understand people are addicted to football. Yes, I know. But we need to be careful. Health is very important to the people, the community entirely. Health is very important. So if they can guarantee the people and the fans watching football that everybody's gonna be safe, I think it is right for us to start the football. But if you can't if I can't guarantee that when the football starts, we're gonna be safe, I'm sorry, we don't need to start the football right now. It have to be a natural guarantee that yes, we're ready to start the football because we can start. Because you can't just kind of do because of the pandemic, you do the league on the sporting merit. Who's gonna go into relegation? We're gonna go into the European tier. We're gonna go into the Champions League. You don't do that stuff like what the League One did. League One doesn't need to do that. Kylian Mbappe was at 18 goals. Asim and Ben Yedder was 18 goals too. Both of them are on the same goals. And you give Kylian Mbappe that goal scorer. Why? Because it doesn't score penalty. It scored because it scored more goals out of the box. It doesn't make any sense. Both of them have the Golden Boot award because they're on the same goals.
Yeah.
So they deserve the Golden Boot award. I don't care how many good both of them, as long as on the same goals, they deserve the Golden Boot award. You can't just give because one is superior than other. You give him the Golden Boot award. You don't do that. You don't do that stuff.
Well, everyone knows Marcus Rashford's better than Mbappe. Just saying. But anyway, well.
Right.
See, Marcus Rashford, Kylian Mbappe, both of them are different.
But Abdullahi, bro, Mbappe is like a Pele, man. Like, reincarnation.
I keep saying it. Kylian Mbappe is
wow.
Dude, Pele can't be reincarnated.
I'm sorry to say this.
How is that even
Red Devil Studio. I'm sorry. I'll say this. For me, Kylian Mbappe is far better than Marcus Rashford right now because he has proven something, how good he can be as a player. Rashford hasn't proven anything yet in United. He's been playing very well. This coming season now, I want to see the real Rashford. If he can be on the par with Kylian Mbappe, then we can decide. Everybody can now say yes, we know Rashford is good. But at the moment, he isn't good yet because Mbappe has shown from Monaco to PSG now, it's shown he has already won the World Cup. So there's something he can prove. I say, if you're better than me, where's your World Cup?
He's playing in He's playing a Farmers League for like most of them, to be fair.
Yeah, he's playing in the Farmers League. Yes, I know. He's playing in the Farmers League. It can be said, but he has something to prove, which is the World Cup. He can show that as a proof, I have won the World Cup. So, which even Messi has not even won yet. So that's like a.
What do you mean yet, dude? What do you mean yet? Like he's going to win it. Like, what do you mean yet? Like, just say he's not won it, dude. Like,
which Messi hasn't won at all? Okay, let me say at all. Which Messi hasn't won at all? So Mbappe has chosen. He has already proven that it can be a better player with the right manager, the right club. It can be the player we want him to be. I keep saying it, being in PSG, Mbappe won't win the Ballon d'Or.
I think on Mbappe, we'll talk about the Bundesliga. I don't know where he went.
So for me, for the Bundesliga, I think for me right now, safety is the priority right now. Once the health can guarantee your safety, I think we'll be fine.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, Baz, you're up. What do you think about this whole Bundesliga coronavirus? Is it going to start the situation?
I give it 4 years, or in 4 weeks before something happens, and then they have to annul the league again. That's what I think. Yeah.
Do you think that it will start and then it will stop again? Is that what you think?
Yes, that's exactly what I think. Because the thing is that I'm just following the trend of the disease. It got so low to a point that the authorities felt that they could lift some of the restrictions, and then 2 days later, the cases went up again by over 1,000. That's an insane turnover, and if this just adds to my suspicions about it, because if you're telling me one of the League Two, the second division players, some of them are found positive for this disease, I feel like one of the Bundesliga 1 players will, or one of maybe even the whole team might be test positive for it. And if that's the case, I don't think the Germans are very strict, and they're very sensible. So I feel they won't take any further risks after that. I think they'll just annul the entire season and just void it if this situation arises again, which I believe it will, because of the nature of the virus. It's something that it's not the flu. Okay, it's not the common cold. It's unlike anything. I think it's unlike any disease I've ever heard of. Something that could just stay dormant inside somebody, be completely asymptomatic but still transmittable. I mean, this is unlike anything. I've never seen anything like this, at all. It's from a scientific perspective, it's just mind blowing how this thing can just go, be infect so many people without any of them even knowing it for up to weeks at a time. So I mean, just because of the nature of it, and because of how much it spread, in an unprecedented way, I just don't see the Bundesliga being completed even after it restarts. I see another lockdown happening, and I see after that point them just voiding the league.
Fair enough, Taha, you go, and then we'll get on to the last topic.
Bro, I won't take that long though. I think so. This will work, and I believe that you know what's going to happen. I believe it's 6-7 games left for Bundesliga, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So they will, So they will play that 6-7 games, and I think they will finish the season. So that's my stand. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so going to the final topic, and thank you guys so much. This has actually been really, really, really good. The last thing, who wins the Champions League? Who wins the Champions League? The remaining teams. I'll just quickly get what the post is looking. UEFA basically have said that they're not going to amend the Champions League qualification process. Take that way. I think more info is coming out short. That's actually just breaking the last couple of minutes. So I understand that to mean that I'm assuming that they will still want to have Champions League and Europa League qualifiers. And I'm assuming that what they're saying is that the domestic leagues have to sort out the top 4, top 6, or the rest of it situation. So essentially what they're saying is that we're not going to change anything. You leagues need to decide who your top 4 is going to be, and we're going to, proceed with our qualifiers, which has issues, in my opinion, because how do people travel to place qualifiers? And if the Champions League is going to continue until August, then when you're going to play those qualifiers. So I don't know what you wait for smoking, but there we go. Before we get into that, the question is, if the Champions League does remain, and I assume it will, well, I guess the first question is, how does it? And then the second question is, if it does, who do you think is the favorite to win? So I'll go with Montar to start.
Okay, so as of we are like, getting to know that like coronavirus situation is getting eased off, like the lockdown is getting easier and everything. So, but with respect to qualification thing, I don't think so. They will like make any changes because, as they said, the qualification round for UCL, I mean for Champions League, and I think it will be as like simple as that, and they won't even make any minor changes, I believe. Yeah, so that's what's going to happen with Champions League qualification. Now let's talk about what it will be. So, I mean, how it's going to happen, what will be the venue and everything. Again, I think so it will be two-leg fixture. I think they have to continue with two-leg fixture. It cannot be one-leg affair, man. I'm sorry. If it's that, then what's the point of playing UCL, Then just scrap the tournament, for the season, So it should be two-leg affair. And what I'm hearing is that they might play the second leg of the remaining quarterfinal, the round of 16 fixtures in the first week of August. And then immediately after 3 days, they will start with the quarterfinals thing, quarterfinal first leg, and then immediately after 4 or 5 days, it's like a World Cup, like what we seen, but more expanded way. And yeah, we'll have two-leg affairs for this Champions League qualification, as Champions League rest of the knockout rounds and everything, right? Now, which team is favorites to win right now? Okay, so situation as before the coronavirus, pandemic situation, I mean, Man City was looking favorites for me. There is Bayern Munich as well. Atletico Madrid was looking good, I mean, really good team. And rest of the team was looking, a bit sluggish. I mean, but slow, not much interested, injuries problem and everything. But right now, for example, for us, like Eden Hazard is back, then Marcos Asensio is back as well. So, I mean, most of our top players are back except Luka Jovic. So it's a really good situation for us. And by the time when they start playing Champions League, we'll finish our league campaigns, So once we hit the first week of August, team are like back into the match sharpness. They're ready. There is an intensity. There's a momentum they have in front of us. So I think so. This will hamper for teams like Man City, who are really good, or for example Bayern Munich, or it could be Atletico Madrid as well. But still, my personal favorites to win this UCL fixture is Atletico Madrid. I believe they have played really well. They have proper defense, proper midfield, and the only team I can see who can beat them in final. Okay, I'm assuming Real Madrid is not playing, so like won't go through, won't reach final at least. So I think so. It could be Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich can give really tough time to Atletico Madrid in final, but in Champions League semi-final two-leg affairs, I cannot see pretty much any team right now to beat Atletico Madrid. We never know. It might change, because Bayern Munich have a great team. Like, I mean, Lucas Hernandez will be back from injury. He's back from injury. Then you have like, Alphonso Davies, who's like in really great form before the coronavirus thing. I mean, he just destroyed Chelsea pretty much. And then you have Robert Lewandowski and everything. Bayern Munich is one of the contenders for this Champions League. Juventus might improve because, I mean, the way they play against Lyon. So I don't know how it's going to happen, but actually Juventus will improve. Juventus will come back, and by the time when Juventus plays Lyon in Champions League round of 16 remaining fixture, I think so. In France, like they totally, banned Liga. I think they awarded PSG as a winner. So Lyon would not be in the match-up fitness, to play. So that will hamper Lyon for the second leg. I mean, like they have to worry about that. I don't know how they're going to cope up with that. Then you have, Man City. It's really good for us as well. We are getting our injuries back. Then there is a Barcelona scenario where there is Napoli versus Barcelona. Do remember that it's Camp Nou on second leg, but it's closed doors.
Closed doors.
Yeah, there is no fun, and that Barcelona, they thrive when they have the Camp Nou fans pressure. Like usually opposition they crumble in Camp Nou because of the pressure of fans, but right now they don't have that factor anymore. But you know what, there's downside as well. If Barcelona goes away, if they qualify for quarterfinal, when they play away, Barcelona usually crumble as well when they play away, So even like it's completely closed door, so it can play in their what is called favor as well.
Messi is the best in the world. We've discussed that like on previous hangouts.
Yeah.
Messi is the best in the world, and therefore Messi can carry this Barcelona team to a Champions League. Isn't that the case?
No. The reason is that I'll tell you, because Messi, I mean, bro, what he did last season, I mean, he's exhausted, I believe, and you can see the impact of him this season in La Liga, for example. I mean, out of top 16, I mean, how many top 6 teams he scored against? Just one, I believe. That's Atletico Madrid. Oh wait, that's it. I mean, his performances, his numbers. Okay, his numbers may look good, but it's not against the big opposition in La Liga. Same goes for, I mean, some of the players. I mean, look at the midfielders, the defenders, the fullbacks. I mean, Jordi Alba's keep on getting injured. They don't have Luis Suarez now. Dembele is injured. Umtiti is injured, by the way, as well. So, I mean, even they have their own problems to deal with. I mean, it's not that straight and simple, clear for Man City. I mean, for Barcelona to beat Napoli that easily. Yeah, Barcelona have upper hand in their fixture, but still, we have to see. Last fixture, I believe, for me, Chelsea versus Bayern. They're going to smash Chelsea as usual, and Bayern is going to go through.
Then, chill.
No, bro. You guys are not coming back, bro. I'm not going to buy that stuff, bro. Abdullah, you guys are coming back.
Well, let Abdullah come in, actually. Abdullah, what do you think? What do you think?
I was just guessing Muta. Muta, continue. Go ahead, finish up, Muta.
Just the thing is what I believe. For me, from my prediction, I believe I'm seeing, Atletico versus Bayern Munich final, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable bet, actually. I think, yeah. Abdullahi, then?
Yeah, I'm there. For me, I think the Champions League needs to the Champions League needs to start, and also if it start also the second leg. I think I'm hearing the quarterfinal and semi-final is gonna be playing on like one-legged tie. I mean, it does not make any sense.
Yep, I hear that too.
It doesn't make any sense. Okay, tell me now. Okay, maybe for example, Man City are playing Atletico Madrid is one-legged tie. Man City struggles a lot at that way, just like the way Barcelona struggles. You want to break down Atletico Madrid, who plays a mid block? They can put everybody on their team and still you're not gonna score a goal. And they crumbled out of the Champions League. The excuse they're gonna give us is because of his long-legged tie. We have no second leg to play for. They will feel like they've been robbed. So why don't they just leave it the way it is? Play the first leg and play the second leg. Let's see how it goes. If you're a good team, you come out to win. If you're not that good, you crumble out. So why do you don't want to change it to like one-legged tie? It's because of the pandemic. No, let them play the same way it is. If the Champions League is gonna finish August, let it finish August. Let's see who's gonna win the Champions League. Who's gonna get out? Because Chelsea is already out already. I know that. So who's gonna go out? Who's gonna follow? Liverpool is out. Boom. Who is next? So that's what we need to understand first. How does the Champions League want to set up when it returns? How does it want to set up? Does it want to set up straightforward?
Well, the big thing, sorry to interrupt you, the big thing that I still don't quite understand how it's going to work is that unlike domestic leagues where you play in your country, with obviously, and I think Raymond Moore says this as well, actually, will the Champions League even be won this year? Is just how do flights, like most countries, like before you guys actually came on, when I talked about the Premier League returning for a bit, it's what the government actually said was that for European games, that they said for non-definite time that if people are coming into the country, they have to be quarantined for 14 days. Well, hang on a minute. Real Madrid have to play Man City. So if Real Madrid are going to fly into England, that means that the Real Madrid team have to be quarantined for 14 days. So what do? Do they come 14 days before the match is scheduled and stay in England for quarantine? Well, they can't do that. They're finishing off the domestic league and the Liga. So I don't know how it's going to work in terms of unless they both teams fly to a neutral venue, or unless by August, which is when maybe these fixtures will be played, that the nation relax their quarantine rules. But there's no, certainly for the UK anyway, there's no timeline, there's no deadline for that. That is just going to be an ongoing thing, So you kind of see what I'm saying, like if different countries have different quarantine procedures and laws regarding to flights, how's the Champions League even work?
No, can I say that? Ideas, bro. Okay, right now it's 14 days. The quarantine situation is because what they are trying to do, they might ease up the situation. So by the time once we hit the month of August, it will change because we have to see. It depends. It's not everything is so confirmed. Oh, like Champions League they will play in August. Definitely no. It's like if situation keeps on improving slowly and steadily, by the next 2 months, who knows? There are dates. If we reach close to the dates, you have to follow. You have to play. But if situation is getting worse and worse, then pretty much you have to scrap the tournament then for the season. So it depends. It totally depends upon the current situation and how situation will, take place. Because because right now, as per stats, at least it's improving. The numbers of death tolls are it's lower right now compared to last week, and it's improving. So on basis of this current statistics and everything, we are coming to a conclusion that okay, Champions League might be in the month of August. So that's the only thing with respect to Champions League. If it's more late than that, I don't think so. Then it will be you can play the tournament. Then you have to scrap.
Baz, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, so I mean, on the how it'll continue or who the favorites are.
Well, both.
Oh, I haven't mentioned my favorite.
Okay, mention your favorite Abdullahi. Go on.
People say I'm biased, but I'm gonna say it right now.
Chelsea.
I'm not saying what? Sorry, man. What? Man, we still on the verge of rebuilding, man. What?
Abdullah, you guys are pride of London, bro. Come on, man. You gotta have to do it, bro.
Being a Chelsea fan is tough, man. What? No.
You're not actually say Chelsea, are you? Please tell me you're not going to say Chelsea.
I'm not saying Chelsea. I'm not.
Okay, good.
Favorite is I have two teams in my mind as favorite. One is Atletico de Madrid.
Okay.
Favorite. And my second favorite is Juventus.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason I start Atletico Madrid is because they've been there before. They have the experience of the Champions League. They know how it's played. So Atletico Madrid could give Man City tough time. They could give Bayern Munich, what I believe are the favorite, a tough time, because I keep saying it. Lewandowski is the key for that Bayern Munich. Without him, that team can't function, no matter how many players they buy. If Lewandowski can be short up, it can be short in that team, Atletico will go through. All they need to do is just defend, go on a counter, boom, it's game over. Manonea is not the Manonea we know of 4 years ago.
But Abdullah, you're forgetting that Sarri is the manager, though.
I'm talking about, I'm saying Atletico Madrid. They defend, and they go on a counter, boom, it's game over. Because
but I think so. Atletico Madrid will play easier team because they just eliminated, the champions. I know it's unpredictable draw, but I still believe that they will get the more easier opponent than what they faced in round 16. Kind of, yeah.
So
that should be easy for them to be.
So who's gonna get Atlanta? Who's gonna get Atlanta? Maybe
I don't know. We don't know. Depends on draw.
Don't underestimate them.
So what?
I said, don't underestimate Atlanta. Don't underestimate them.
I'm not underestimating Atlanta. See, this Atlanta team are just I think the way they play attacking football, they keep conceding. Boom, they can beat you 10-0 and they will concede 4. They'll beat you 8-0 and they will concede 5. That's how the team is. I think it's the way Gasperini plays right now. That's the kind of way. They don't have a very good solid defense. Who's gonna help them in the kind of tough matches and everything. And also, I'm having my eye on them, Real Madrid a little bit. The reason I say Real Madrid is because they're gonna have a fully fit squad for the return leg in England, which is gonna be a help for Real Madrid and a bad news for Man City. Because
so City though one day, because then Laporte, for example, their defender will be back.
Laporte is not, for me. Laporte is not even a real defender. I can put my money on at the moment. He hasn't proven anything yet. At the moment, remember this. Will have a full fit squad? Asensio is back. Hazard is back. Oh, they're gonna have a fully fit squad. If they go all out against Man City,
Go on.
If they go all out against Man City, for me, it's game over. Benjamin Mendy is short one for me. That's game over for me. Because Asensio he can shoot from, is a direct player. He can shoot from anywhere. And the way the team play, he already plays defense. He knows, this is how this team plays. He will set up to play on the counter with them. He won't go out. He will set up to play defense and go on the counter. And the 4-4-2 diamond, boom, it's game over for Man City. Catilla doesn't know how to defend. It's game over. So I won't put my money on Man City yet. And even PSG, they bought a lot in Champions League. I'm not gonna put my heart on PSG, and at the end of the day, they fuck up all the way fucked up. I'm like, my goodness, why did I do this? So We need to be careful of who we're gonna choose as favorite. That's why I'm going on Atletico because I know they have that experience. The reason I'm leaning on Juventus a little bit is because I know they have Cristiano Ronaldo, who is gonna bail them out in every situation. Is always there to bail them out. No matter the manager they have, sorry being a crap manager, but they have someone who has won that competition week in, week out, consecutive season. He has won it. He has that phenomenal experience on winning the Champions League. That's why I'm putting my money on Juventus because I know they have him. People may say it's not that Ronaldo we know of 5 years, 4 years, but this guy has won it. He has won that champion. He has that experience. You cannot put him back. He has that experience. When he's hungry to win something, he will win it for you. That's Cristiano Ronaldo for you. He has that quality to win Champions League for you. So that's why I'm putting my money on both two as my favorite.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thanks, Abdullahi. And lastly, Vas, what do you think?
It's all about the unpredictable nature of the draw, and it's all about matchups. Okay, who's the favorite based on their matchups? I think Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich should be able to beat every team except one, and that one team is Atletico Madrid. The reason for that is that Bayern rely mainly on speed. Okay, and the thing is about Atletico is because they set up in a deep block, that speed becomes nullified. Okay, you can't really utilize speed in a team that sits back almost entirely in the 90 minutes. Because the speed primarily is a weapon that you use in transitions to catch out another team who set up a high line, and then you can counter and score a quick goal. You can't do that against Atletico Madrid. On top of that, if there's one weakness in Bayern, it's probably that midfield. And maybe like a couple spots in the defense. I feel Atletico Madrid can probably exploit that. They have a manager in Simeone who's probably studying Bayern right now and probably already has a plan or will develop a plan if he doesn't have one already to nullify them and exploit their defensive frailties. The thing about Bayern is that, honestly, man for man, are they really stronger than the Liverpool team that Atletico Madrid already knocked out? Are they really? Is that midfield really stronger than Liverpool's, workman midfield? Is their backline stronger than Liverpool's backline? I'd say no to both of those questions. They do have the most lethal striker, but like Abdullah said, if you nullify him, you pretty much nullify the whole team. And if you sit back, you nullify their speed. So they're not a good matchup. Yeah, they're not really a good matchup. Every other team, though, yes. Against Man City, they can use their speed, and they will use it, and they will beat Man City over 2 legs. I can see them winning both legs of that matchup, in fact. Against Atalanta, it would be a washout. It'll just be open play, and because Bayern have the better players, they will beat Atalanta easily. Leipzig, they will beat over 2 legs, 100%. Juventus, they will beat.
But for Atletico Madrid, Leipzig in Bundesliga, so Leipzig knows how to play Bayern Munich a lot.
No, but they beat
but
it
doesn't matter.
Right?
It doesn't really matter, dude. In a 2-legged Champions League tie is a completely different ballgame, and that's when Bayern show up and Leipzig don't have the experience to deal with them. It's different from a league game. The thing about Atletico Madrid is, even though they match up well against Bayern, there's 2 teams I believe that they don't want to face. Atletico will want Manchester City to see out their 2 legs against Real Madrid because they will lose to Real Madrid over 2 legs no matter what, because Madrid just know them too well. The other team is Juventus, because Juventus are far from the favorites to win this Champions League. They will get washed by just about any team. But against Atletico, because of that Cristiano factor and because Simeone has just not found a way to nullify this guy, I just see Juventus edging that, 3-2, something like that, like the aggregate score was last season. I see them edging that. So those are the 2 teams Atletico will fear. Other than that, I feel like they should be, comfortable. They'll be pretty comfortable against anybody else. I'm sorry.
Would you not throw in Atalanta into that as a team that Atletico might fear?
Not at all, actually, because Atalanta do, because they're all out attack, and I don't think Atalanta have really the creative, the thing is that to beat Atletico Madrid, I feel Atalanta, they have Ilicic, who's a very skillful player. I think they would need more than him, though. It'll take more than him to break down that defense, and the thing is that Atalanta's own defense, I don't think will cope with a fully fit Herrera, a fully fit Joao Felix, a fully fit Diego Costa, a fully fit Morata, and a Llorente who has proven he's not afraid to take a shot from distance either. So they have the weapons to hurt Atalanta, and I don't think Atalanta has really faced. And in Serie A, they do face teams that set up like Atletico, but they've not faced a team to the level of Atletico, other than maybe Juve. But the thing is, Juve don't really play the way Atletico play. Under Sarri, they're more attacking, and it's a bit different. Atletico Madrid will present Atalanta with the challenge that they've not really had the experience dealing with. And I just feel because experience is key, especially in Champions League, I just feel Atletico will have enough to deal with them, and Leipzig as well, to be honest. So that's just basically how I see it. Like, Atletico will hope that Bayern Munich draw Real Madrid if they beat Man City. And they would definitely hope for Bayern Munich to draw Juventus, because Bayern will almost certainly beat Juventus under Sarri. Almost certainly beat Juventus under Sarri, 100%. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that, like, the two spoiler teams for me then would be City and PSG. You know, they are the other team that I haven't mentioned at all. And PSG can win, especially in this format where it's a very short recovery time. Nobody's really match fit. You know, they can come in and be that spoiler team and the team that people expected them to be in previous seasons, going far into the competition, perhaps winning it. We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes. And it will depend almost entirely on Neymar. And maybe I'm biased saying that, but I don't think I am, because who really saved PSG against Dortmund? It was Neymar, you know, coming clutch with the goal after a horrendous performance from the whole team in the first leg. And then again, winning it for them in the second leg with the header. So it's really up to him. Mbappe, like as we saw with United, can't be fully trusted with the responsibility of this team. I do believe a team like Bayern or Atletico should be able to beat them, but we'll see. Depends on how fit the players are. But yeah, that's about it. Like that should be really like, unless they meet each other, that should be a good semifinal. City, PSG, Bayern, and Atletico, and we'll just see who ends up coming out on top there.
Okay, fair enough, guys. Fair enough. I think that's everything. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Or was that, I think it's another lie trying to tell me? Oh, internet went off. Okay, I'll bring on top.
Sorry, guys, my internet went off.
No worries, Abdullahi, man. Like, is there any last thoughts before we end the stream? Thank you guys so much for coming on and having this discussion. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Do you have any last comments regarding the Champions League or just football in general before we finish?
Yeah, so I just want to add one more thing over here, what Was said. I'm just pretty much elaborating what just Was said, you know, what Atletico Madrid is hoping. If Real Madrid goes through against Man City, the tables are turning then. The reason is that because we are pretty much kryptonite for Atletico and Bayern Munich in Champions League. Then we can see, you know, PSG might have chance. Juventus can come into the like if they beat Lyon, which definitely I believe they will. So that would be like more surprising thing, you know, what people are not expecting. So I think that will happen.
The thing is that I feel Juventus is just not a strong team, dude. Like, I mean, I feel they're a good matchup for Atletico Madrid just because of the Ronaldo factor. But if it wasn't for him, I don't think they would even be able to beat Atletico. I'm gonna be honest with you. They're like a really bad team right now, you know.
You know what? Like, this is my gut feelings, right? Okay. I said Bayern Atleti will reach final. That's my prediction. But that's my also prediction. I don't know why, but like, this is Champions League, and we know anything can happen, bro. I mean, last season we saw what happened last season, bro. We didn't expect Liverpool, to come back, to be honest. So what I'm seeing is that, bro, I think there will be Juventus, Real Madrid, and Atletico Bayern semi-final, something like that, or Man City, Juventus, something like that. You know, some crazy semi-final, bro.
If I'm honest, I might think of this, and maybe this is an outline, but I genuinely believe that it will come to which team is fittest, you know, because team players have not been playing for a while. That's why I feel like the leagues that have cancelled their leagues, like PSG, etc., I think are going to be massively disadvantaged. Even if you've got Neymar and Mbappe and stuff in your team, like, at the end of the day, if you're not match fit, and if you're not playing regular match, like, even Phil Jones could have a good game against the team Neymar, because he's been playing and getting to match fitness, and Neymar and Mbappe haven't. So depending on how, like, when these because obviously different domestic seasons are going to be, that's where I feel like if the Bundesliga starts early, they will be at more of an advantage, I think, than the other teams, because they'll be playing football regularly, they'll be trained, they'll be getting back into it, etc. They'll be getting back in their groove, and the Champions League starts, and then they'll have an advantage. Whereas if Serie A or La Liga or Premier League start a lot later, you know, by then, you know, picking up their fitness will be difficult, you know. So I wouldn't underestimate the importance of the fact that people have been playing for it must be about, it's almost like 2 months now, and players are going to not be fit at all. And I just feel like that's probably what might give the German teams or whoever teams are afterwards an advantage in winning this Champions League over, like, say, a PSG, who I think are going to struggle because they're just not playing any games.
So let me ask you, I
mean, articles, bro, but there's a thing as well, right? Even if, for example, like this week, Bundesliga is going to resume, they're going to play the tournament, right? I mean, the league, right? So, bro, they would end up early as well, for example, but Champions League might start in August. So by the time, if they end up by the end, mid-June, still there's 1 month break again,
Yeah.
But they'll usually have, you'd presume that they'll still allow them to play friendlies or different things. So I'd be very surprised if they just said, right, stop football for now until league. I would suspect that they will be organizing friendlies and, not tours, but you know what I mean? Things are sort of, at least they can have trainings. I guess what I'm saying is that at least they can have regular training sessions, can organize friendlies. They can do that to keep their fitness up. Whereas I feel like with PSG, because they've cancelled everything, they can't do anything. They're effectively going to just be waiting until the Champions League starts, and that can't be good. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But
again, it depends upon the draw as well. You know what, was? I agree with you, but it depends on the draw as well. For example, if PSG is facing Leipzig, so I mean, I know it's difficult, to immediately play one game, but still, it's much more easier draw than, for example, facing directly Atletico Madrid or something like that.
Yeah.
So it totally depends upon draw as well, So draw will play,
It's all about the matchups, dude. It's about the matchups. Like I said, it's who matches up against who, and there are certain teams that will almost certainly beat a certain other team. I just feel Atalanta and Bayern are just matched up badly against Atletico. Atletico's matched up badly against Juventus, stuff like that.
So let me ask Red Devils to be on them on that bus. If let's say okay, we take out Mauricio Sarri as the coach of Juventus. If Juventus win the Champions League, does Cristiano Ronaldo deserve the Ballon d'Or or no?
I mean, what was the question again? Can you ask me again?
If Juventus win the Champions League, does Cristiano Ronaldo deserve the Ballon d'Or?
Okay, see, if they win the Champions League, he doesn't just deserve the Ballon d'Or, dude. But if he takes this team to a Champions League, wins it in the love and the time of Corona, I mean, he's the greatest of all time in my opinion. Look at the circumstances. Look at the team he has to play with. It would surpass Messi's season last season because Messi probably had a better team than this Juventus team last season, and even he couldn't win the Champions League. So I mean, if Ronaldo wins it with this Juventus team against some decent opposition, decent competition, obviously he'd be the greatest of all time. He's already won 2 international trophies, one international trophy.
They have to rename the competition from UEFA Champions League to Cristiano Ronaldo League then.
No, UEFA Cristiano League.
Yeah, he would have won the Champions League with 3 different teams as well. United, Real Madrid, so 3 different teams in 3 different countries, along with winning domestic leagues as well. I mean, come on, what can you say to that? That is nothing but GOAT material, unless you're a Lionel Messi fan. But that's.
but some fans will not agree with you. They'll be because Serie A is very easy for Ronaldo to go to win the Champions League. Because it's this, because it's that, they'll come up with something.
Anyways, bro. But the question is, I mean, yeah, man, we have to see. It's about matchups, as Was said.
You have to see. I'm tipping Atletico de Madrid and Juventus. Please don't let me down, guys.
Raymond Moore quickly says, and this is the last comment before, and it's just a last question to the panel, then we'll definitely will finish. Will football fans ever be allowed into stadiums after this if the vaccine is never found? So just quick.
Okay, so one thing has to happen for that. There's one way that they will be allowed if the vaccine isn't found, and that's if each and every country, in these major leagues reduces the coronavirus rates to such a low extent and for such a prolonged period of time, if the rates remain low, then they can probably re-enter. 2 or 3 months, if they maintain a very low level of coronavirus after easing the restrictions, then I can see, the full extent of civil privileges and civil liberties being adopted again. And then you would be seeing fans being able to re-enter the stadiums and enjoy these matches, even if they don't find a vaccine. But it has to be something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what he said. Yeah.
Same with me too.
Cool. Fair enough. Oh, that was quick. Okay, thanks, guys. Well, thanks everyone who listened and tuned in, was watching, and thank you guys, Vas, Montaha, Abdullah, and Sean when he was on for joining. We will be. I do tend to do this, hopefully weekly, every 8:30 time. Thanks to everyone who's involved with the Red Devil Live Studio podcast. Take care, everybody. And